Alrighty, it's 12:02, so we'll get started so we can wrap up here in plenty of time for everyone. So again, thanks for joining us all from downtown Cleveland. Welcome to Tech Tips. If you're here today, you've surely heard of AI and probably lots of grand big picture ideas about what it means for the future of humanity, all that jazz. But today, though, we're gonna try and keep things a bit simpler. Just how you can use AI, specifically Microsoft Copilot, to make you a little more productive at your job. You'll hear from me. Hi, I'm Matt, Fitz Marketing Team Lead. I'll be showing you a few ways that I use Copilot in my day-to-day work life. And even if my job duties don't align perfectly with yours, hopefully I can inspire you to dive into Copilot yourself and make it work for you. One quick reminder, we did post a feedback survey link up in the Q&A tab. So be sure to fill that out for us. Let us know how we're doing. Give us ideas for future topics. It's really helpful to us. And I'm also definitely going to be demoing things live. So please bear with me if any hiccups arise. But that is still, a part of the AI experience sometimes. So did want to show you what it's like in a real world use case. So hopefully we don't run down anything, but just putting that out there. Also, a couple disclaimers. Before you really jump into anything AI related, you should consult your company's acceptable use policies about using AI to make sure you're following any of your organization's rules and privacy policies as well. Also be cautious about using privileged info to do any AI-driven things like lists of phone numbers, proprietary company information, any other kind of personally identifiable info, that sort of information. As compliance regulations and again, your organization's policies come into play there. And lastly, your experience with Copilot might vary slightly from what you're seeing on my screen, depending on your license and again, your organization's policies. So do apologize for that if things aren't matching up quite one-to-one for you. With all that fun stuff out of the way, let's jump in. So let me switch my screen that I'm sharing here. Okay, hopefully everybody there should be able to be seeing my browser window. So if you know anything about Copilot, there's a bunch of different ways to access it through Microsoft 365 apps like Word and Outlook and all those things you're probably familiar with. But today I'm going to be focusing on the browser Copilot app. So the easiest way to access it is just to go to copilot.microsoft.com. And then you might see a screen something like this. We do have a paid work license here that I use. So I'm going to click on the work one. And you'll go to this screen that's, if you've used AI at all, it's probably pretty familiar to you. It's like a chatbot type of interface. The first thing you want to notice if you're here and if you do have a paid Copilot license, you'll see this tab right here in the middle up at the top. One says work and one says web. Important distinction between those two. Web will act like, kind of most AI models like ChatGPT or anything else, and it won't really have access to your organization's data or files that are on SharePoint or all your other 365 apps like Outlook and Teams, that sort of thing. But if you click on the Work tab, then you are giving Copilot access to all those things. So if Copilot will use your SharePoint data, your different documents and everything else that you have access to inform its answers. It does still use other sources of information as well in this tab. So if that information isn't available in your organization's data, it will pull things from the internet and its own data. But if you're really wanting something that's only in your company's data, you should be using the Work tab. So that's what I'm going to be working out of today as well. One thing to notice here is under the chat window, they will give you some pre-made and like pre-filled prompts that you can try. I don't know how it tries to guess, I guess, what you might want to use. I've never found them super useful personally. I've never thought they were, exactly what I was looking for, but they are there for you as well. One thing that's important to use is this plus sign here. That allows you to add files and other content into Copilot to kind of focus Copilot a little bit if you wanted to. There's a bunch of different options on this plus sign. Upload image and files here in the middle is for things that aren't already somewhere in your Microsoft data. So like stuff that you only have on your computer. If you want to upload it into Copilot and ask it questions about a document, that's where you click. Attaching cloud files is exactly what it sounds like. It'll bring up, if you click it, it'll bring up a window that allows you to search through your organization's SharePoint and your OneDrive, all those sort of things. So things that are already in the cloud, basically. And then add work content is very similar, but it'll pull up a different window that also down here that also allows you to add different kind of items. So you can ask it questions about specific people in your organization or specific meetings that were on your calendar, search through your email, all those sorts of things. So it gives you a few more options than just documents that you might have in SharePoint or on your OneDrive. Next, I'm going to go real quickly through this left-hand nav bar here because a lot of this stuff is beyond the scope of what we have time for today and is a little more advanced. But I do want to let everybody know a little bit about what is there. Search right here under new chat is pretty self-explanatory. Just let you really search through all of your Microsoft 365 data if you're trying to find some bit of info and you don't remember if it was in an email or if it's on SharePoint or if it's in a Teams chat. This is a great way to just search through all of those things at one time to really try and find content quickly. Library is next, and that houses two things called pages and images. Pages are kind of a weird thing to describe, but you can kind of basically save your Copilot chats on a page and put in other little modules and kind of widgets like tables and loop components and all sorts of complicated things. But it's a good thing to mess around with if you have like a long-term project that you might be coming back to and referring to sort of the same information a lot. You can make a page for that. And images is pretty self-explanatory. If you use Copilot to create an image and generate an image with the AI, that'll be saved here. And you can delete them out if you need to and download them to your machine if you need to from here. We'll skip notebooks for a second, or we'll skip agents for a second, excuse me, and we'll head down to notebooks here because notebooks and pages are related. You can then, if you make a bunch of notebooks, you can, or if you make a bunch of pages, excuse me, you can add them into notebooks. You can also add other documents into notebooks and chats. Basically anything that you want Copilot to be able to reference in this specific notebook, you can kind of put in here. The easiest way for me to think about it is it's a way to really limit what Copilot is going to reference and is going to search through if you're asking it questions or asking it to look at data. It's not going to look through everything that your organization has. It's going to only look through the things that are in the notebook. And you can type in and give it specific instructions. If you only want it to respond in a certain way or only format things in a certain way, you can get really, really nitty-gritty specific on there. And then the last one over here is agents. We'll click on researcher here. These are kind of what seems to be like the cutting edge and like the next step of where these AI things are going to go. Microsoft has a pretty easy description to think of them. To think about agents is kind of try and think of them as apps like you would on your phone. And then Copilot overall is like the interface. So you can really, again, rein in what you want these agents to do. And you can even then share them out to other people or deploy them through your organization for other people to use. So it can get really, really complicated pretty quickly. So maybe in a couple months, we'll have another session in Tech Tips just all about these agents. But that is a really exciting thing if you're really wanting to try and get ahead of the curve with what Copilot can do. But for today, we're going to jump into the Create tab. And this is really the main hub for if you're wanting to make images or videos or infographics or write documents right out of the Copilot app. In my opinion, the static image maker is pretty good, and anything with the written word is pretty good. Sometimes the written word stuff, depending on the kind of prompts you're giving, can be a little generic. So it's definitely not, have it create something and then it's going to be, a world-class novel or anything like that. But it is really, really powerful for starting first drafts, especially if you can give it a really strong prompt and give Copilot a good outline of things. It'll really make your, first drafts move a lot quicker. The video creator is good and accurate, but it is pretty bland if you ask me right now. As far as I understand, in the video maker, it doesn't create brand new videos out of thin air. It pulls stock video. So it's accurate and it makes sense to what your prompt is, but it might not be the most exciting novel kind of video footage that they're using. But one thing you can do, especially if you're going to use it to create a lot of images or static things, is to set up what they call a brand kit, and it'll really help kind of guide what Copilot is doing. So to set up a brand kit, you can click this More button over here, and then it has a bunch of other options of things that Copilot create. And down at the bottom, there's Manage Brand Kits and Brand Kits. So if you click on that, it'll bring this up, and this will have any brand kits that you've already created. I set up a couple just for ease of use today and to move things along. But if you click New Brand Kit up in the top right here, it'll bring up a little window to name it, and then it'll go into the setup of how you set one up. So we'll click on this Tech Tips one that I set up already, and we'll just quickly walk through everything that they have in here for you. At the top, if you already have like an organizational brand guideline document that I think specifically they need it in a PDF, you can upload it and Copilot will just go through and automatically pull a bunch of things from there if it can find what it needs from your guideline document. So that is a good starting place if you have it, and then you can always refine and edit it from there if it doesn't exactly pull rules and information that you like. So you can go ahead and upload your logos, pretty self-explanatory here. Got the Tech Tips logo in there. Colors, you can set up a bunch of different color palettes if you want. You just simply click Add Color here, and then it gives you, your typical hex code selector or drag and drop. We'll add what do we don't have? We don't have a blue on here. So we'll add a little navy blue. Fonts, you can pick from all the typical fonts that are in Microsoft apps. So we have Dan Gilbert's favorite Comic Sans here set up. Images, you can use if you find yourself using images in your designs a lot, you can upload them here so you'll kind of have easy access to them. And Copilot will also kind of try and learn the style that you like based on these images. And icons is similar, but it's just more for simple things. I just dropped the Facebook icon in here as an example. Templates can be really powerful. So if you already have, branded Word or PowerPoint or Excel templates that you use in your organization, you can upload those here as well. And Copilot can use those as a jumping off point to design the documents or anything else that you're wanting to create. And then where it gets down a little more to the stylistic choices is down here in brand voice and style. So brand voice gives you the option. I think it's pretty long. I think 1,000 characters. You can type and just basically define how you want your brand to sound. If you're creating a lot of written content with this, you can put do's and don'ts in here. If you want to consistently use certain words or not use certain words, you can put those sort of rules in here. So that's a great place to do that. And then style is similar to brand voice, but style is just all about the visuals. So you can type in a description of what you always want things to look like, and you can even add multiple style boards. So if sometimes you want to have something that's very professional and clean looking, you can have a style board for that. And if there's another style board you want for something very fun and or whatever style you're looking for, you can set those up and use them differently for different purposes. And you can even upload, like, again, more example images that Copilot can look at and follow. So now that that's all set up, let's see what it looks like when we actually try and use it. So clicking over here on the Create tab, and I'll go to Create an Image because that's usually the simplest one. And I have a prompt here that we practiced with that usually gave some okay results. So we'll use that and see what happens. But so it said, create an exciting image to use on social media that will advertise the next tech tips session that will cover how to build a rocket ship. Include a bold graphic as well as text that tells people to register now. And then down here, there's a few more options. You can add more content if you want to for Copilot to refer to. You can pick up a specific style that you want the image to be in. So I'll pick neon art because why not? That's super fun. And then brand and color is where you would choose your brand kit. So here are those two custom ones that I had set up. And then they also have a bunch of color palette options as well. Click on the tech tips one and I'll click create. And it might take a minute or two here to get going. One thing to note though about those options there is sometimes the style that you pick and the brand kit don't play super nicely together. And more specifically, like sometimes the style that you pick can kind of, at least in my experience, can kind of overwrite the brand kit if they don't really match up. So that does take a little bit of experimentation to see what kind of styles and things will play nice together with your brand kit. While this is generating, just want to point out here on the right-hand side, this, I believe Microsoft calls this the designer app once you're in this, kind of setup. It's got a bunch of additional editing options here. So just if you're familiar with other apps like Canva or Photoshop or anything like that, you'll find a lot of those same things and same tools in here if you click around. The brand one will pull in your different brand kit items. So like I mentioned before, if you always want to put the Fit Tech Tips logo on your designs, that'll be handy right here. And you can just click on it and it'll drop in on the design and you can move it around and resize it and everything else. It didn't take too long here to generate this. It's going, it's finishing up, and boom, there we go. So it's hit the style pretty good of neon. It used, I'll pull up the brand kit here. So it referenced those colors pretty well. You got the yellow in there, the pink, the green and the red. Added the register now button. So it did a pretty good job. And here's if you just would click the Tech Tips logo, you could then drop it in and do all sorts of editing and manual things if you need to, if you don't like exactly what it spit out for you there. So that's just a quick overview of how you can use the brand kits along with the image creator and Copilot. And it looks like we do have enough time, so I can't show you one more thing that I think is going to be very helpful too. So I know not everyone is creating a lot of images, but not everyone, but most roles, you're going to be doing a lot of writing as well. I did mention it's great for Copilot's great for drafting and doing that way. But one thing that I've found that it's also really great for is formatting, and especially doing formatting in relation to coding. So I write a lot of blog posts in my role here at Fit, and HTML is not one of my strong suits. I know a little bit, enough to get in trouble, but it's definitely a pretty tedious process for me to go back through HTML code and make things exactly how I like. But this doesn't just apply to HTML code. It applies to if you're just making Word documents, if you're just making PDFs or things like that. But in this particular instance, show you how it can help to write a blog post. So in Copilot, you can tell it specific things about you or about how you like to work or about how you like things formatted, and it will remember those forever until you tell it to not forget it. And you can even ask it, hey, Copilot, what do you remember about me? And it'll spit out a list. It'll be like, well, here's all the things you've told me to remember about you. And it'll spit out a list. I won't pull mine up because it's got a lot of things about internal fit stuff we don't want to broadcast out there. But it's a really useful thing with Copilot that if you find yourself, doing a lot of similar tasks on a weekly or monthly basis, that can kind of lend itself to being formatted in a certain way. that can be really helpful, that you don't have to tell Copilot every time to do a thing a certain way, and all that. So I'm gonna again have a prompt here. I'll post into the chat interface real quick. It says, write a 500-word blog post about how cool panda bears are. Remember the formatting instructions we've used in previous blog posts and output it in HTML. So really not a very in-depth prompt here, but you can get way more specific. And again, it'll be a lot better if you kind of make an outline yourself and really kind of build it out a little bit. So I mean, it'll spit out a 500-word blog post. It won't be anything. It won't be anything earth-shattering, I don't think, but we'll see what Copilot can come up with here. So it just tells you, that here's what I spit out. It made it clear with the headings, H1 and H2, and then it uses the colors that I've always like to use, and has it set up so then you can just click copy code here. And if you were just outputting text, you could just copy the text in the same way and then paste that or export it into a Word document. But I'll real quickly just paste the code in here, and there we go. It's got our blue that we like. It's got a big headline at the top and then smaller ones as well. One thing it didn't do that I do like it to do usually is to put a clickable button at the bottom so people can, go and learn more about FIT or go to the contact page. And as you see here, it even kind of, I think it knows it messed up because it says CTA button at the bottom, styled like your usual blog posts. And I would say, yes, that's exactly what I would want to do. And it even puts the options here just to click them. So I can click add a CTA button, which is a call to action button. So I say add a CTA button at the bottom, and it'll get that code prepared. And just how we usually like it, with this specific color, blue background, some white text, some rounded corners. And as you see, it only spit out the code just for that button specifically, and didn't automatically attach it to that previous HTML file. And being Friday afternoon, I'm feeling super lazy today, so I'm going to say, hey, Copilot, combine those two HTML files, because I don't want to have to do extra copy and pasting and figure out exactly where I need to put this button. So it's going to do that for me. Does it in a couple seconds, super quick. You can scroll and watch as it fills it all in, and there we go. So we'll click copy code again. We'll go and we will paste it over the other code. And there you go. You see on the right side, I added that button. Want more fun reads like this? Get in touch. And it even included a link that we always use for our buttons to go to our contact page. So that is just a little bit of what you can do with Copilot to kind of save some time if you're doing repeated tasks. And I'm definitely not an engineer or a coder. So if a former journalist and humanities college major can do it, I think anybody out there can do it as well. So yeah, that's all I had to show you guys today. I do see we have one question in the Q&A. It did look like Jess though responded to it. So Steve, hopefully that answered your question thoroughly. Let me see if there's anything I can add to that. I do know one thing too is that another part of that is that I believe, now I'm not, don't take my word 100% here, because again, I'm not a non-technical person, but I believe your organization can also set up so that each person's Copilot only has access to the files that they would normally have access to. So if certain employees only get access to certain files, your IT admin and your IT team can also set that up as well, so that people aren't using Copilot to access things that they shouldn't be able to access or don't need to access, and all that kind of stuff. So if we don't have any more questions, I hope everyone was able to pull some information. And again, we are always available if you're a client with it to ask your engagement managers about Copilot. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of ways that a lot of our other clients are using it. So it's hopefully something that people are not going to be too scared to try out and use if it makes sense for your organization. We do have one more question coming in. Is Copilot HIPAA compliant? I do not know that answer, so I'm not gonna take a guess, because obviously that is a very important topic with compliance regulations. But I can find out from our security team here, and we'll reach out to you. I can shoot you an email, hopefully later today, about that, to get you a good solid answer from someone who would know a lot more than I would. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up here today. So thanks again for everyone for attending, and we'll hope to see you next month at our next Tech Tip session.